Glad to see everybody dug themselves out of the snow this weekend. I know we didn't get that much. It's not like we got a ton of it, but after 1,000+ days since our last snowstorm, you can see why we were a little cautious and a little excited about the whole thing. I got an email from a viewer asking about how this factors into climate change. Ed wrote in and said, I always hear about how hot, dry and wet it has become due to climate change. No one ever comments when it's been unseasonably cold. I've lived in North Carolina my entire life, and I can tell you this is one of the coldest winters I've experienced. So Ed, thank you for writing in. We appreciate it. We did ask our WRAL meteorologist about this, and you're right to some degree. So far, this January has been a little over 5 degrees cooler than normal. But we were actually pretty warm in December. So when you look at the whole winter season so far, we are just 0.3 degrees below normal. Does it feel that way? So not much really overall, but technically, I guess, yes, this winter has been colder than usual by about that much. Let's talk about another big topic in the news over the last couple of weeks, the bird flu. The Washington Post published this on Saturday. D.C. area on alert after bird flu detected in poultry in Maryland and Delaware. That brings me to an email we got from Susan. The subject line said bird flu, and her email said, my neighbor just came out to yell at me for refilling my bird feeder. Am I endangering myself and my neighbors, as she claims? So first of all, I can understand your neighbor's concerns. This is kind of scary stuff a little bit. We've seen 66 bird flu cases confirmed in people in the U.S., and one of those people did die. That said, of those 66 cases, 63 of them stemmed from poultry farms or dairy herds. The CDC isn't really sure where the other 3 started, but they could be potentially wild birds. That's possible. This map shows where bird flu has been detected in wild birds. Counties shaded purple have seen at least 1 case, and as you can see, there's a whole lot of purple on that map. Let's zoom into North Carolina for a moment. Wake County has seen 10 cases, the most in our state, but the last case was detected 2 years ago. That was January of 2023. The real problem area is out near the coast, specifically Pamlico County. Last year alone, they saw 135 bird flu cases in wild birds. So back to Susan's question, are bird feeders in backyards putting people in danger? Well, probably not. The USDA says removing backyard bird feeders is not something we specifically recommend to prevent avian influenza, unless you also take care of poultry. The store Wild Birds Unlimited posted this: there is no evidence humans are at risk of contracting avian flu from backyard birds or bird feeding. And here's a flyer from the New York Health Department. It says, bird flu and you, it's okay to feed the birds. That cartoon cardinal certainly seems to be at ease. Listen, bird flu is concerning, of course, especially since North Carolina is number 2 in the nation for poultry production. But when it comes to our backyards, probably not something worth worrying about, or certainly not worth yelling about. Let's move on to the topic of an email that we get all of the time. The North Carolina Education Lottery. Elizabeth wrote in and said, all that lottery money is supposed to go toward the state. Where is it going? Darlene said, where is the NC lottery money going? Michael, is the lottery money not sufficient? And Lisa said, how is the money distributed? Who decides how it's distributed? What's the total that's been donated so far? So I hear you. Seriously, I get it. North Carolina slaps the word education on its lottery games. Then you hear the news talking about millions, sometimes billions of dollars in lottery prizes. And then you hear us talk about underfunded schools. That might get you thinking, wait a second, what about all those $1 billion prizes? Where does our education fit into the education lottery? 30% of lottery revenue goes to public education in North Carolina. Since the lottery began, it's raised about $10 billion total. In 2023 alone, the lottery raised $1 billion. That's a lot of money. All that money does go to all the public school systems in all 100 North Carolina counties. Now, most schools spend their share on things like construction or school staff. Let's look at Wake County specifically. Most of its 2023 lottery money went to staff, so positions like substitute teachers and bus drivers and custodians. The rest helped pay for transportation, pre-K, construction, scholarships, and financial aid. And in all, the county got $63 million to go for all of that. That may sound like a lot, But consider, Wake County's total public school budget was $650 million. So the lottery accounted for less than 10% of that. Lawmakers decide if the lottery shares more of its money, and Paulina thinks they should. She wrote in and said, I think a good thing to investigate is trying to make a change in how the funds of the NC Educational Lottery are distributed. It's a great point. What do you think? Do you agree? We only spent a couple of minutes on the lottery today, but maybe we should do some more. We do get an awful lot of emails about it. People are curious about the way it all works. So let me know. If you're interested in that, send me an email, dan@WRAL.com. What else do you want to know about the education lottery? Maybe you have some questions about bird flu or the weather or anything else. We will tackle any topic here during this segment. Anything you want to discuss, let me know. Tell me what's on your mind, and we'll go in depth.